Well, hello there, friend. Welcome back to the Construction Leadership Podcast. I am your host, Bradley Hartmann. Now, to set the context here, I'm going to go in the way back machine, back to 2008, 2009. Once I realized that I wanted to start my own business, which I ended up doing in 2011, I realized a couple different things. Is that one, I was working in purchasing and I was buying materials and labor in the construction industry. And I realized that if I was going to launch my own company, I would have to sell things. And I didn't know how to sell anything. And being in purchasing, it's the exact opposite of selling. Everybody returns your phone calls immediately, your emails promptly. Every joke you tell is hilarious. Every haircut you get looks good. It is the opposite of selling. Why? Well, because you're making buying decisions and you control other people's money, so you get prompt attention on everything. Well, I launched my company in 2011 and I realized I have no idea how to sell. So I started reading everything I could get my hands on. I started watching every movie that was about selling, and it didn't take long for me to run into Glengarry GlenRoss, which has one of the greatest lineups of talent ever. Like, just listen to these names: Al Pacino, Jack Lemmon, Alec Baldwin, Kevin Spacey, Alan Arkin, Ed Harris. Like, that is 6 actors deep. I will match up those 6 actors against any other movie of all time. And when I heard that this was coming back to Broadway with Kieran Culkin from Succession, which is one of my favorite shows, the first 2 seasons of that were incredible. He recently won an Oscar. Also, the guy Bob Odenkirk, who was best known for Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Also, Bill Burr, the comedian, and a guy that you've seen all over the place. His name is Michael McKean. He has one of these faces that you have surely seen him in some movie. He was in Spinal Tap, a phenomenal actor that just is an everyman that kind of fills in these roles. Well, they were all going to Broadway. And when this happened, I said, I will be there.
It's an incredible play. It's one of the great plays, unbelievable actors. The dialogue is still as hilarious as it was when it was first written. It's so much fun. The whole time we're doing rehearsal, there's always a new line. And it's always something so small and specific that makes me laugh. Whoever told you could work with men is the funny shit ever. Just as a man, if anybody said that to me, it'd be so devastating.
There's a line that makes me laugh every time, and I realized all it is Williamson going,
I think it's impossible that you would forget the experience. It's absolutely impossible, just even based on what I've seen so far. That there's that, you look back at your life and you go, oh, did I go see that play? I guess I did, whatever. There's no way that's going to happen. You'll remember it.
I think that's what we do it for, right? I think the reason you do this show today is, it's for the people who've seen it before, but I think really it's to put up a mirror for people who've never seen it and go, oh, that's my life up there. Or that's where I'm headed. Or these are things I need to look out for. That's what we do in the theater, and I'm excited.
It's about people competing to win at work. They take it very personal, and it's a battle royale. It's a Thunderdome battle.
And their work is very much tied up with their masculinity and with their, I'm not going to say toxic, but I mean that level of competition is very much alive in this room.
I mean, we're a bunch of dogs, and the dogs are going to fight. And so, come and watch and see who wins.
I don't care how much the tickets are. I don't care what I have to do. I'm going. And one of my friends who most identified with the movie, because he starred in it in a play in college, was Mr. TJ Shaheen of Builders General. Now, TJ Shaheen is an executive vice president at his family's business, their 4th generation. He's been with them for nearly 30 years. TJ, as you will hear, is a total character, ton of energy, and we love getting together. And we thought, why don't we do a little bit of an episode before we go, then double back afterwards. So that's what we did. I'm excited to share our experience with you. Without further ado, please enjoy my conversation with Mr. TJ Shaheen before and after seeing Glengarry GlenRoss on Broadway. We're recording here live from the Muse. This is arguably as excited as I have been about anything since at least one of my children has been born. So in the play itself that opened on Broadway back in 1984, there was no Alec Baldwin scene, which is one of the greatest scenes of all time in cinema. It's so known. So that is not in the play. Here's my question. Is it going to be a letdown to you, TJ?
Yep.
If that scene does not exist in this play that we're about to see?
No, 1,000,000%. I mean, this monologue that's given by Alec Baldwin with ABC and AIDA, not to see that monologue happen tonight would be a disappointment for sure, because it does resonate with a lot of people.
Yeah.
But it's also, it's ironic that that monologue by Alec is crazy. He's got this porcelain little baby doll face back in the day, but he delivers a crushing scene for sure to a lot of hopeless salespeople. And we have to find out, like, is that going to be in the play? And if it's not, we'll talk about it later, right? We're going to come back and we're going to discuss it in our post game.
One of the key elements here is a good salesperson cannot sell if they do not have a good lead. And they never talk about teaching Shelley the Machine Levine on how to generate his own leads and then close. As you think about managing your sales team, what comes to mind there about teaching not even just young people, but everybody about developing your own leads and don't rely on someone else to, give them to you on a silver platter?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a classic case where you're like chained in the basement 2 inches away from the water bowl. You never actually see the Glengarry leads except for an instant. They're all red in the movie. We'll see what they are tonight on stage. But when it comes to salespeople and goals, I don't care what it is. If you're a salesperson, it's in your DNA. I don't care if they're Glengarry leads, the horse feather leads, doesn't matter, the garbage. You just have to find a way and have passion, perseverance, and grit to succeed as a salesperson. And if you don't, it's just not for you. And it can't be taught. It's either got to be in you or it's not, period.
In the first scene with Shelley, who was originally in the movie played by Jack Lemmon, and Kevin Spacey, he talks about, Shelley talks about it runs in streaks, and you have streaks and there's luck. As you think about sales domination, sales persistence, and success over the long term, which you and Builders General certainly stand for, how do you think about that? Does it run in streaks? How do you think about luck versus risk in sales?
It's almost like being a parent, right? If you're a parent, you kind of know. You've raised your kids, you know what they're doing upstairs. Maybe they got the water on. You told them to take a shower an hour ago. The water's still running. What are they doing up there? With a salesperson, it's almost like, look, you've been there, you've done it, you have these examples, and what have you done with that? So if you can learn from your mistakes, the trials and tribulations, and build that into your resume and add those arrows into your quiver, that makes you a stronger person, makes you more well-rounded, and it only comes with experience and wisdom over time. It's trust, it's everything, but you have to go there, you have to take the risk, and if you don't do it, you're just milquetoast and you'll never be anything. So that's what we like to see is going out there, getting uncomfortable and learning. And then it's not one and done, it's over time. And it's an evolution. Know people's birthdays, know people's like anniversaries, do the little things. You do it with us. You do it with a lot of your customers. You send something in, thanks for the year. Thanks for your business. Thanks for that. That is all about having that 6 cents, that little extra added value that makes somebody feel good, period.
It's also pattern recognition.
Yeah.
It is, and we all know people, and we're going to close out on this. Otherwise, you're going to crush that whole giant glass of vodka.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's fine.
Is that there are certain people that go through life and they have the experiences and they stop and they pause and they're like, okay, what worked, what didn't, and they learn, right? And then they see this pattern recognition. But I think we also know there's a lot of people that we work with who are kind of, whether it's 10 years, 20 years, or 30 years, they're reliving 30 years of experience, like 1 year at a time over and over and again. And they're not really identifying those patterns. So pause here. We'll come back later. Let's do this.
It is 7:30.
So who is that?
And where's Mr. Roman?
Well, I'm not a leash, so I don't know, do I? let me have your attention for a moment. Because you're talking about what? You're talking about... bitching about that sale you shot. Some son of a bitch don't want to buy land. Somebody don't want what you're selling. Some bitch trying to screw, so forth. Let's talk about something important. Are they all here?
All but one.
Well, I'm going anyway. Let's talk about something important. Put that coffee down. Coffee's for closers only. You think I'm f***ing with you? I am not f***ing with you. I'm here from downtown. I'm here from Mitch and Murray. And I'm here on a mission of mercy. Your name's Levine? Yeah. You call yourself a salesman, you son of a bitch? I don't gotta listen to this shit. You certainly don't, pal. Because the good news is you're fired. The bad news is you've got just 1 week to regain your job, starting with tonight. Starting with tonight's sit. Oh, have I got your attention now? Good. Because we're adding a little something to this month's sales contest. As you all know, first prize is a Cadillac Eldorado. Anybody want to see second prize? Second prize is a set of steak knives. Third prize is you're fired. You get the picture? You laughing now? You got leads. Mitch and Murray paid good money. Get their names to sell them. You can't close the leads you're given. You can't close shit. You are shit. Hit the bricks, pal, and beat it, because you are going out.
The leads are weak.
The leads are weak. The f***ing leads are weak. You're weak. I've been in this business 15 years.
What's your name?
You. That's my name. You know why, mister? Because you drove a Hyundai to get here tonight. I drove an $80,000 BMW. That's my name. And your name is you're wanting. And you can't play in the man's game. You can't close them. Then go home and tell your wife your troubles. Because only one thing counts in this life. Get them to sign on the line which is dotted. You hear me, you A, B, C. A always B, B, C closing. Always be closing. Always be closing. AIDA. Attention, interest, decision, action. Attention. Do I have your attention? Interest. Are you interested? I know you are, because it's fuck or walk. You close or you hit the bricks. Decision. Have you made your decision for Christ? An action. AIDA. Get out there. You got the prospects coming in. You think they came in to get out of the rain? A guy don't walk on the lot lest he wants to buy. They're sitting out there waiting to give you their money. Are you going to take it? Are you man enough to take it? Incredible. What's the problem, pal? You, Moss.
You're such a hero. You're so rich. How come you're coming down here and waste your time with such a bunch of bums?
You see this watch? You see this watch?
Yeah.
That watch costs more than your car. I made $970,000 last year. How much you make? You see, pal, that's who I am, and you're nothing. Nice guy? I don't give a shit. Good father? F*** you. Go home and play with your kids. You want to work here? Close. You think this is abuse? You think this is abuse, you? You can't take this. How can you take the abuse you get on a sit? You don't like it? Leave. I can go out there tonight. The materials you got make myself $15,000. Tonight, in 2 hours, can you? Can you? Go and do likewise. AIDA. Get mad, you son of a... Get mad. You know what it takes to sell real estate? It takes brass balls to sell real estate. Go and do likewise, gents. The money's out there. You pick it up, it's yours. You don't, I got no sympathy for you. You want to go out on those sits tonight and close, it's yours. Not, you're going to be shining my shoes. And you know what you'll be saying? Bunch of losers sitting around in the bar. Oh, yeah, I used to be a salesman. It's a tough racket. These are the new leads. These are the Glengarry leads. And to you, they're gold. And you don't get them. Why? Because to give them to you is just throwing them away. They're for closers. I wish you good luck, but you wouldn't know what to do with it if you got it. And to answer your question, pal, why am I here? I came here because Mitch and Murray asked me to. They asked me for a favor. I said, the real favor, follow my advice and fire your because a loser is a loser.
TJ Shaheen, Glengarry GlenRoss at the Palace Theater. The play has been seen. I want to know right off the bat, I'm looking for a number, 0 to 100. 0, it's the worst thing you've ever seen. You would advise it to no one. It was a waste of your time and money. 100, like Shakespeare, Sean Connery, like there's no world where it could possibly be better. Where would you rate Glengarry GlenRoss, the play?
I would give it like a 71 with Braveheart being like 99. Just to compare.
Is Braveheart a play?
Well, we can make one, right? I mean, just go out on stage and just start massacring.
All right, you're at a 71. All right. Now, I have to ask, the big question we had going in was this legendary scene with Alec Baldwin as Blake from downtown, Mitch and Murray, that was not in the play. How big of a subtraction was that to your anticipated experience?
I think it was kind of a letdown for sure. And that makes up that 71% rating that I give it, just because if you see that a lot of people that haven't seen this play, they haven't done it. I did the play in college. We spoke about that offline. And we brought that scene into the play just for that wow factor. But for sure, I think that there was probably a letdown there. I think a lot of people saw the movie. They were expecting somebody to come in. Who was it going to be? We talked about it. We joked about it. I said, you have to have a guy who's a method actor, maybe like a Jake Gyllenhaal. He could be one of those guys that comes out because he can look at you in 1 minute and you don't know if he's going to pet you or kill you, right? So, but that's what you need to lead this group of sales guys that are just really kind of clamoring about themselves with no rudder on their ship and just kind of lost. We talked about it for months and we finally got a chance to do it. So yeah, it was fun.
Well, it's interesting. I think there's something broadly applicable in business for sure, in life as well, which is happiness is often your expectations minus results. I was at an 80. Yeah, I wrote 86. I was at an 86. I could argue maybe 89. I thought that this would not be included. I was confident it wouldn't be in there, mainly because I don't know how you end on something of a high note when you have such an incredible scene really in the first like 10 minutes. You got to front load it because that really drives the narrative. And I think this goes to expectations. Now, if they went out and said, by the way, heads up, this one of the greatest scenes in the history of cinema is not included in here, I think it's tougher to get people in seats. And even in the artwork, we have some photos of you and I in front of the poster that says ABC, always be closing. They had the steak knives. That was the first thing you saw when you walked in. The ABC and the steak knives were both part of that monologue. But I think this goes to the just importance of how do we set expectations for people? And I wasn't anticipating it. That's why I didn't feel like it was a letdown. I would have loved to see it. But how do you think about that? Is there anything you think about in the way you guys deliver value at Builders General on how you set expectations from operations, from sales to those people building America? And how do you make sure you're not setting those expectations too low? You're not setting them too high. How do you think about that?
Well, I feel like if you just go back to the play and you see these guys, these sales guys, there's 4 sales guys, are all 4 different types of caliber, right? Different personalities, different ages. As it goes on, you can see that they're just kind of scratching and clawing, but really not getting anywhere. They're almost like little chipmunks on a wheel. And then when the character for Rick Roma's character, rather, so he's finally made a sale. But the moment that he makes a sale, within 24 hours, this homeowner walks back in and says, look, my wife changed her mind.
Mm-hmm.
That's when that struck me. It's completely a transactional type of relationship. There's no emotionality behind it. If you just want to break it out and draw that parallel, there's really nothing going on. They don't have anything. They're blaming each other. They're blaming themselves. They're blaming Mitch. They're blaming Murray, right? They're blaming everybody. But look inward. What are you doing? What are you doing to make yourself a better salesperson? And that's what kind of jumped out at me.
Well, to me too, the whole thing, and by the way, you were gracious enough to invest in something that I will cherish forever, a beautiful sweatshirt that says Glengarry GlenRoss on the front and giant in the back, it says premium leads. I think it goes to this thing that we often talk about, which is if you love the hunt and you love the competition to interrupt people, that's part of prospecting and delivering value and generating new ideas and overcoming objections and all the stuff that comes in selling anywhere, especially in the construction industry, which is a bunch of busy, hard-nosed, often short on patience people. If you have the ability to generate your own leads and close that, you represent, I would say 1 out of 100, less than 1% of all the people on earth have that skill. So whether you're listening and you depend on people to sell, or you are a salesperson, or you're a sales manager, or you're an owner of a business who relies on salespeople, that is the main skill, to generate your own leads and close that. If you are self-sufficient as a salesperson and can make that happen, everything else is just how do we clear the decks, make it easy for you to do that, because sales drives the business. And this just shows this is a whole industry, a whole team of guys that are completely dependent on somebody serving up those leads.
Correct. In the play and also in the movie, there is no real true defined leadership. In the movie, there's this character comes on and you can tell he's a bully. He's just a tyrant. He's putting the fear of God in his sales team, right? Essentially. On stage, that wasn't there. So it makes it even more kind of, you question like, what's going on here? These guys don't have that leadership. So when you don't have leadership and you don't have defined paths, what else can these guys do except just blame each other, complain about not getting the premier leads?
Mm-hmm.
And it's very easy just to sit there and say, well, I'm not getting the support I need. You have to have all of that stuff to keep pushing your sales team forward. And then it's up to them as well to put in your sweat equity. You got to do whatever you can do to make yourself a well-rounded athlete in that space. And again, you have to realize things just take time. But as long as you're putting in your reps and you're just constantly just grinding away, eventually perseverance is going to allow you to start to get some small wins, turn those wins into more wins. But it takes time. It's just not going to happen overnight. We all know that. But what are we doing to coach them, support them? What are they doing to help educate themselves, help them learn themselves? So that's all important.
TJ, you bring up such a great point, which I hadn't really thought about. There is the complete lack of leadership. And Williamson, played by Kevin Spacey in the movie, he literally says, when it comes to the leads, my job is to quote unquote, marshal the leads. And that's when Shelley Levine jumps all over him and he goes crazy about marshaling the effing leads. What he's not doing is in saying, as a sales manager, as someone who runs this office, my job is to help you be successful. I'm going to give you coaching. I'm going to give you accountability. And you could argue, all right, maybe there's some accountability. But really what he's leveraging is fear through, well, just the overall environment. And that first place, El Dorado, second place, steak knives, third place, you're fired. Fine. And then also I have these leads, and the only way you get the leads is if you sell some other stuff. But there's that complete lack of leadership. No one is there saying my job is to help you be successful. And when you have people say that, as a leader, your job is to do one of two things. Ideally both. Make situations better, make people better. That is leadership, and it can come from anywhere, but that's really not happening anywhere at all in Glengarry GlenRoss.
You got Mitch and Murray, you got the office manager, and they're all trying to just invoke fear, right? So that they'll get off their asses, that they'll become successful, they'll start doing something. But that doesn't work. We all know it doesn't work. It's never going to work. And a lot of employees that work in that environment wind up leaving, right? Because they don't want that. They want to feel that they're valued. They want to feel that there's support, that there's intimacy, that there's growth. And those companies have the tenure of employees that are 20, 30, 40 years on your roster, right? When you're trying to invoke fear and a transactional relationship type of atmosphere where it's all about A, B, and C and AIDA, all these different acronyms, that doesn't work. So it's like, what are we doing here? Shut it down.
All right, I got a challenge for you. In the play, the book, the first page says, always be closing is a practical sales maxim. That is how the play that we watched, that is how that ended, which I love. By the way, it was like directly from the book. It was the same typography, laid out the same. It was great. So I love that. In general, when I talk about folks, they love saying like, ABC, always be closing. They're like, that's what I'm always trying to do. And my comment to that is, don't do that. Don't always try to be closing. Why? Well, you should be trying to develop trust, build that relationship. So when you do land that work, whether it's 6 weeks or 6 months or 6 years, you have the confidence that there'll be some sort of enduring relationship. And I think the most successful sellers find ways to do that in our construction industry. So what I would say, I have something where I say, it's not ABC. I say ABU. If you can always be ABU, good things will happen. And that is always be useful. If you can figure out a way to be useful in general in life on a long enough timeline, people will figure out either ways to refer to someone else who can buy your stuff or will buy directly from you. If you're always being useful, you can't use ABU. You can't use ABC. TJ Shaheen, I'm putting you on the spot. El Tigre, you would be AB what? What letter combination and why? What would it stand for?
I would always be learning, right? You have to educate. You have to learn your customer. You have to learn about your environment, learn the space. And when you get to that point, again, over time, because it takes time, I can't emphasize that enough, as a salesperson, where you've learned enough about your customer, you can stay a step in front of him. If it's their birthday, little things that they like to do, their families, all those little things kind of connect the dots in a successful, emotional-backed relationship. And it's not about taking the order. It's about taking care of your customer, learning from your customer, and learning about who he is, how she operates, or what what their business is all about. Because if TJ Shaheen walks into Bradley Hartmann Pulte, business trailer, and I'm like, hey, Bradley, I got a great 2x4/8, skid of half-inch CDX. You're going to be like, who are you again?
Right.
Obviously, you didn't learn about me because I don't take people as walk-ins here. You didn't take any time to develop a relationship with me. I just don't care. You're transactional me. You're out, right?
I love that. And I don't know if you've ever been to any of these restaurants, but there's a guy named Danny Meyer, founder of Shake Shack, Gramercy Tavern, some swanky restaurants up in the New York area that I've never been to. There's this awesome clip he's got where he talks about you always want to be collecting dots, small bite-sized chunks of information about what these people care about, where they come from, what they want. So then you can later always be connecting the dots. And that's what I heard you say is, the birthdays, the anniversaries, the little things you notice. Do they like this? Do they like that? Like, this is a person. What do they care about? Where are they trying to go? And the more you can use those and think about, okay, right, what can I learn about them? And then, how can I be useful with that information? That's when it's easy. It's not selling at that point. Then it's like, why wouldn't I want to work with this guy? He gets me. He understands what I'm trying to do and who I am. So, all right. I love that.
And then to tack on to that too, when you get to that ultimate relationship situation with that customer, or it could be your spouse, your kids. So it's not just about business, but you get to that point where then it's so much easier when they call you and they need something from you instead of you trying to ask for something from them in the form of an order, because we already just said that's the wrong way to go about it. But eventually they're going to start asking you for, how can you help my business? Can you help me with my social media? Can you help me solve this situation where something went sideways? Can you do this? So now, you're useful because you tried to learn about your customer. You also try to make yourself a better, well-rounded sales athlete, if you will. And that all takes time. But when you get to that point, you've got it. Like I said, keep replicating that over and over and over again.
All right, man. It's a great place to end. I appreciate you making time. We've been talking about Glengarry GlenRoss for like a decade. You're the reason that this whole thing happened. So thank you.
Yeah, listen, it was great. I'm glad we were all able to get together and have some laughs about it. And it was a lot of fun, for sure.
All right then, friends, how did that go? Hopefully you enjoyed my conversation with Mr. TJ Shaheen, El Tigre. Because I did a 19-minute introduction to this episode, I feel like I should simply say I have nothing further to add. If you enjoyed this, please share it with your network, and always remember our leadership mantra, which the characters in Glengarry GlenRoss should adhere to as well. You, my friend, are owed nothing. Deliver value first. Make it a great week.